3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realized you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
What's going on, y'all? This is DeAndre Williams. I just wanted to give a quick testimony about the services that I've been receiving from Ernie Kaysen and Married Into Crazy. It's amazing. They provide everything I need, and it's helped me transition to another level in my business. So if you're out there, reach out to Ernie Kaysen and Married Into Crazy, and they will provide great service.
Welcome to episode 120 of Married Into Crazy with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
You know who you are?
All right.
I'm Snooks.
And as always, we welcome each and every one of you back to the podcast. You can be listening to so many other things, music, whatever. There's a lot of choices, and we're happy that you've actually chosen to spend your commute or your gardening time or your running time or whatever it may be with an old ratchety couple like ourselves going on 24 years of marriage.
I didn't know we were ratchety, but okay.
I was thinking rickety, but ratchety came out.
Wow.
So she's the ratchety, I'm the rickety.
Like, wow, ratchet. My husband just called me ratchet. Okay.
No, so we want to catch you guys up on what's going on and then really get into the meat of the podcast. The only thing going on right now, two things.
Christmas.
And COVID.
CC.
Right. The 2020 has been a trip, and regardless of what the holidays are, we still manage. I mean, when I say we, I mean the world, all of us. We still manage to get through it. There's tragedy, there's highs, there's lows, but we still find a way. And
well, what's the alternative? I mean, if you can't just give up. Well, I guess you could, but
yeah, but it's not really worth it, right? I mean, if you get, how many times do you want to just lie down and let somebody just run all over you?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say just lie down. I was like, I feel like it right now.
No, that's it. And I think if nothing else, one of the biggest stories of 2020 is the resilience of America, meaning that no matter what's going on, and there have been a lot of sub stories, right? There have been so many stories this year of this happening, that happening, and this and that and the other, and yet we always rise. Mm-hmm. As a people. And when I say as a people, I'm talking about as an American people. And then you have your subcultures within that, and everybody rises, everybody does better. And that's one thing I want to get into a little bit later is we're going to talk about moving into 2021. That's been the theme, if you haven't noticed, over the last couple of podcasts. But today's going to be something special, something a little different. One thing that I really want to go into, so I belong to a men's group. And the men's group that I talk with, we've told the story, and we've each had an opportunity to kind of give our perspective on marriage or our relationship or where we are, in our journey within manhood. And when I told the story a number of months ago, beginning of the year, as a matter of fact, when I told the story about getting stabbed and, having 2 open heart surgeries and how the knife went all the way through my heart and the divorce and all that, they kept coming back like, well, what happened to the dude that stabbed you? And then I tell a story about what I'm about to tell right now. And they're like, you need to go into that. You need to give more detail. So I want to share that because it comes it's the topic of forgiveness. I don't want to trip over my tongue, but it's the topic of forgiveness. And I've point blank had gentlemen say, well, I don't know if I could do that, or there's just no way that dude should be breathing air. I've even had people say, look, on the DL, give me the name mm-hmm. and we'll find dude. And it's not about that. And here's the reason why. We're talking, everyone's making plans of, I can't wait till 2020 is over, going into 2021. But you know what? Think of those burdens, the grudges, the things that you're thinking of, those are anchors. And if you don't let go of them, you can't drag that into 2021 and expect to have a better year than 2020. Mm-hmm. So what I want to talk about right now is forgiveness and how it relieves you of that burden, that anchor, so that way you can truly be those things in your relationship that you want to be in 2021.
Okay.
And I want you to keep me honest in case I start.
Oh, please believe.
She looked like she's going to fall asleep. So here's the deal, folks.
Do I? I look sleepy. I was going to say, do I look sleepy? But they're not.
You be the judge on YouTube. So when I got stabbed, that was back in what,
1995.
1995.
No, I'm sorry. It was
96.
1996. It was
96. So got stabbed in 96.
April
and
14th.
April 14th. And the quick story of that part is that Snooks had an estranged, if you will, ex-boyfriend that just never left the scene. This guy would always show up. He was like a, let me say this. I do want to do this. I don't want to talk about him because I want him to be able to maintain his dignity. And there's a reason for that. He was somebody that was caught up and he knew how good Snooks was and did not want to let her go no matter what.
Well, you know what's so funny though, is that we broke up and he left me alone. And every now and then he would like reach out or something. And I don't know. I want to say he was trying to fill me out like, oh, there's this girl and she's real serious about me. But I told her that, I got you and blah, blah. It's like, no, go for it. Cause we're done. We're absolutely done. And every almost said blue moon, but it was, I don't know. It wasn't like he never left. So he didn't. What is that? Like someone says,
it's like a hanger on or.
Well, no, it's like when someone
canker sore.
People know when someone else is looking at whatever it is. So
yeah, like a sixth sense of one.
Exactly, or something like that. Because all out of the blue, like, why is he all of a sudden now you're showing up and now you're like trying to be present? So I always thought that was really really weird. I won't say I thought it was weird, but there's a script. There was something that makes me think about that. I don't mean to kind of take over, but it's like the devil knows. He was like my wilderness enemy. Like I'm free or whatever, but here he comes, like you say, kind of straggling along.
It's like those movies where there's that wolf that is like following at a distance, and they know that at some point you're going to get tired and you're going to get weak.
He was anticipating or thinking about that,
and that when you do, they're going to pounce.
Yeah.
And so he was always there to a certain extent, like she was explaining. But when I came on the scene, it seemed like he became a little bit more prominent. Now he saw that there was a threat or what have you, to what he thought his plan that he thought he was going to be able to enact. But anyway,
monkey wrench.
So when we got engaged, he forced his way into the house, attacked Rana. I ended up getting stabbed. We got into a fight, and when it pulled me off of him, he ended up having a knife that we didn't know about, and he lashed out at me and stabbed me through the heart with a serrated steak knife. Had to undergo 2 open heart surgeries, and he went to jail. And here's where we pick it up. So when he goes to jail, because her cutlery set was not a true put together like set, they were like mismatched pieces. Like, I don't know about y'all, but the way we grew up, everything was mismatched. And hers was no different. And so because the knives it wasn't part of a set and they were all mismatched, we couldn't prove that it was premeditated or that he brought that there with the intent, right?
Because he said he found it in the house on the floor by the heater in the wall in the hallway.
Because that's where we leave our cutlery.
I throw that in, but okay, whatever.
So regardless, so he ends up going to jail for aggravated assault versus attempted murder. He got out. He was supposed to do X amount of time. So fast forward, I'm working in a training capacity, and I'm training a bunch of new hires for this company that I was working for back then. And and we're saying that this gentleman's in jail. We're moved beyond this. I'm healthier. I'm back at work.
We
had moved on.
Yeah,
we had married.
Been married. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm teaching a class, which is by the mailroom, and all of a sudden, everything like my spider sense just goes haywire. The hair on the back of my neck stands up. All those things, all those cliches you hear about happened. I got queasy. I broke out in sweat, and it was like immediate nauseousness. It was just everything hit me all at once. And I didn't know what was going on, but I had this sensation like go out and follow this person. So it was like I saw him out of the corner of my eye.
I was going to say, but okay, before that, didn't you say you felt that way and you happened to see him outside?
Well,
because you were inside, right?
Let me get there.
Okay.
So this all happened inside. And so I went out because I saw in the corner of my eye like something, and like that little part of my brain was like,
kind of,
that's him.
Mm-hmm.
And So I go out and I start following him as he's leaving the building. And so he goes through our security doors, all that, goes outside. So I'm inside in the security side with these big old plexiglass and that you have to be buzzed into and all that. And then there's like a courier truck that is sitting out there, like almost like a little, not a kind of like a roundabout, but parked on the side where our building was. And it was a large corporate structure. And I look out the window and all I could see is a baseball cap, some eyes, and a little bit of a nose that's just above the top of the roof of the truck, looking back at the building. And then that feeling came over me again. And again, all I could see was the eyes. I'm thinking, that's dude. And I'm not going to say his name. So everyone's like, what's his name? No, I'm not going to say his name. But I felt like that's him. So I called Snooks and told her what happened. And she was like, no, that can't be possible because you would have got a phone call. So then I have a friend named Terry. And I guess I shouldn't have said her name either, huh?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
So anyway, I say something to Terry because it was her
Her father worked
her stepfather was an assistant DA at the time. And so I call just to find out, hey, is there any way that this person would have been released? Da, 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 da. And he was like, no, you should get a phone call, something to let you know that he was paroled or let go early. Anyway, so he made some phone calls. And a lot of people, my uncle looked into it, who was kind of a bigwig at the time. And come to find out, he was released early. And then they started asking, okay, well, what happened? Did he approach you? Da, da, da. And I'm like, I don't even know if it was him. It was just one of those things that it may not have even been him. 3 weeks go by, right? And nothing. So we start to think, well, maybe it wasn't him. Coincidence? I don't know. Stranger things have happened.
But didn't you found out before that he did get out?
Yeah, I just said that he did get out.
Oh, no, okay. So you said, because I don't know, we didn't talk about like our feelings about that, about him getting out.
No, I didn't want to go into that. I was going to get to the
okay.
bigger piece.
Okay. Well, I mean, you were upset.
Well, I was upset when I said that because I was part of the Victims of Violent Crimes program. And it was one of those things that I was guaranteed that if anything was going to happen, like it was going to be paroled or whatever.
Because of the type of crime that it was.
Right.
He was supposed to be.
The sheriffs were supposed to contact me and let me know, blah, 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 and all that stuff. And none of it happened.
Okay.
None of it happened. And so that's the other part, I guess, in the back of my mind where I was thinking, well, if none of that happened, even though he got out, this, that, and the other, chances of that being him, slim to none. So 3 weeks go by and I'm teaching the class, these new hires, and we're going through it. And then that feeling came over me again. Again, the way our classroom was set up, it was near the mail room. We had these big old Pitney Bowes machines right outside our door where they did the, sorting of the mail and all that stuff. And so the courier had to walk by to get to the main airway to drop off packages. But as soon as I saw the corner of my eye, I think it was like a white hat, white shirt kind of thing. As soon as I saw that, I bolted out of the classroom. So as soon as I get over there, I see him. And this time, we're in the middle of a extremely large, very well-known institution. I'm not going to say their name, but we're in this building and we're face to face. And I asked him, what are you doing here? And he was like, I thought that was you the other day. I wasn't sure. Look, I don't want any problems. Look, this is the only job I can get. So he used to be an electrician by trade. And because of, getting paroled, this, that, and the other, he said it was the only job he could get. And that he had put paperwork in to ask if he could actually go back to his home state and parole. So all that was in process. And he said he didn't want to mess that up and he would quit his job and that he had no idea that I worked there. And it was just purely coincidental. So in that moment, I asked him if we could pray together. And don't ask me why, because I wasn't like the biggest, as you guys could tell from the podcast,
a prayer. No.
I will mess the scripture up. No, I've always believed in the power of prayer, but I've never been this big on, like I'm not a Bible beater per se. I know about the scripture. I could tell the story. I just can't tell you where you can find it. I might even embellish a little bit every now and then. And Jesus walked on water and then walked up the waterfall. So I might add a few things here and there.
What?
But in that moment, though, all I felt was that we needed to pray. And I asked him, can we pray together? And so we sat there in the middle of this corporate building with all these people, as you can imagine, all of it's a very busy area. My classroom's like, wondering what the heck is going on? And he and I sit there and I say a prayer. I don't remember what I said, but I know we said a prayer right there and then. And then afterwards, I told him that just like I had said at the trial, I don't believe that God makes junk. And apparently, we both got an extra chance, a second chance at life. Me with my life, him with his life, but in a different way. And that I wish him no ill will. I completely forgive him. And that, make no mistake, I don't want to be friends. I don't want to hang out with you. I don't want you anywhere around my family. But I don't want there to be any impedance to you doing what you need to do, what God has planned for you as well. And in that moment, there was complete forgiveness. We actually hugged and he left. And I was shook up. I don't even remember if I went back to work. I think I finished the day. That's just what I do. But I remember being shaken. And do you remember anything else?
You called me and you told me that you saw him and basically what happened. And I was shocked because I was like, "Did you hit him?" No. But I mean, I was surprised that you did see him and that you were able to talk to him. Because I try to think and imagine what would I do had I been in that situation. What would my mind frame have been like? Would I been what I would have went out there? What I've had said? And I don't think that at, at the time saying I forgive you and let's pray were the furthest things from my mind. I never thought about I mean, as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't think I would have said that, just trying to uh grapple with what I would have said or how I would have felt. So
And the crazy thing about it is, that's back when I was a hothead. And I, I wasn't as much of a hothead when I was in the service. I had been in multiple fights. I mean, when I was in basic training, I got into a fight and got washed back and almost got kicked out of the service before I even really truly got into the service. Um, I would fight when I was overseas. I would fight. But there were things that, as a matter of fact, before I even left overseas, like a week before I left, I got into this major fight and messed this guy up, and then was afraid that I was going to get in trouble and not be able to come back overseas. Like I was going to go to jail in the military. So it was just, for whatever reason, that at this point in my life that came up. That's why I say it's really shocking to me that I had that presence of mind to do that, because it wasn't, I think it was still kind of being woven into my nature.
so it's funny because the reaction that you had, your initial reaction from the first time that you saw him, it was
Rage.
more of like exactly. And then I felt like when you said when you initially when you saw him again, you was like, no, wait a minute. Because mind you, Lovey was teaching a class in the middle of teaching a class and he just walks out. So to go from I mean, I don't feel like just from when we talked about it back then, I never got the feeling like when you first walked out of the classroom, your intent was to go pray and say, I forgive you.
No, it wasn't.
So it's just funny. It's not funny, but it's it is funny how when we do something and we have set in our heads, this is what I'm going to do, how I'm going to say it, and when the Lord, because I feel like that was nothing but the Lord, when the Lord says, "Nope, I got something else for you. This is,
True.
um,
And you got to realize that I outweigh him probably by a good 100 pounds.
I was about to say, yeah, he's not
I,
as big as you."
a good 60, 70 pounds. I'm sure I had on him. But, and this is back when I was a lot smaller than what I am right now. And it's interesting because, like you said, because all I could think about was like, okay, if that was him, what would you do? And I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna catch him. Even when in that moment, I remember thinking, get him, go get him.
Mhm.
And it wasn't, but that was it. But then when we saw each other, and the reason why we're telling this, or I want to revisit this, is because, like I said, I've been asked, how could you possibly forgive that guy? It wasn't a conscious movement where I felt like, in order to be able to move on with my life, I need to offer forgiveness and pray with him. Da, da, da. But it was in that moment that, when it happened, like you said, I think I 100% believe it was the Lord, because that freed me up to move forward without any doubts or fears or anything.
Mhm.
And I say all of that because I want people to realize that in your relationship, in your marriage, when you're making these plans to go forward, you can't carry anchors in these things. You know, we already drag a lot of luggage or baggage into our relationships with us.
So let me ask you, when what how long well no, wow. I was gonna say how long were you was it that you saw him after it happened? So
You figure he got stabbed in 90. That was about 2 years.
96.
It
Okay.
was about 2 years.
So this was prior to the divorce.
This was this is prior to the divorce.
The divorce that didn't happen.
Right. Prior to us kind of going through the divorce ordeal. Because remember, the divorce ordeal had nothing to do, well, it didn't have as much to do with the stabbing on this side of it. It was more about me not standing up for my wife with my family, and the insecurity she had around my ability to be the man that she needed or wanted in her life.
So it's funny too. I won't say it's funny, but I think back, and like you just said, it didn't have anything to do with the stabbing, Bert, but it did have everything to do with what came out of the stabbing. Because had you never gotten stabbed, we probably would never. I won't say we would never would have been in that situation where I felt like with the turmoil within the family.
Right.
You know, I never would have probably been the outcast, or it would have been for something totally different.
I was gonna say, more than likely it would have been something else.
Mm-hmm. But I think that in order for us to be able to have moved forward also from what happened in year 4, it's like you had to put that forgiveness out there already, because I think you were mad at me, not about the stabbing, but about the whole year 4 thing. So it's almost like, well, if I could forgive him, then I can forgive her for feeling the way that she felt, you know. And another thing too is I use that for myself. Like, if Lovey could forgive him who almost took his life, then I could forgive, or I should be able to forgive someone who, I won't say she tried to destroy my life. She didn't try to destroy my life, but someone who hurt me, that hurt our relationship, that was a big part of the reason why we've had our shortcomings.
Contentious relationship,
Yeah,
what have you. I get you. See, forgiveness to me is like a muscle, and think of it this way. I had to flex that muscle, like you were talking about. I had to go through that in order to flex it. And it was like a crash course, that boot camp, if you will, of forgiveness, in order to be able to have that muscle memory and flex it later on. Because it's one of those things where we had just talked about in a marriage group that we belong to, that when it comes to forgiveness, you have to be able to offer the forgiveness that you're eventually going to seek. Mm-hmm. We all seek forgiveness at some time. And it's hard to justify seeking forgiveness when you're not willing to give it. People want a lot of things. I want to be loved, but are you giving the love that you want? Mm-hmm. I want justice. Well, do you offer justice? Are you a just person when it comes to other people? I think that, the law of reciprocation mm-hmm. is extremely real and active in all of our lives. And when we say that, you have to understand that we want 2021 to be a better year in so many different ways than what 2020 was. And the law of reciprocation is going to rear its head and say, are you doing more? Are you putting forth? What seeds did you plant in 2020 that's going to help you, reap a better harvest in 2021? Mm-hmm. When it comes to your relationship, specifically, what did you do to strengthen? What seeds did you plant for your relationship so that way you can bring in the crop in 2021? And if you didn't have the opportunity to really offer forgiveness, I guess the question is, what do you need to forgive? Who do you need to forgive? What do you need to forgive? Do you need to forgive yourself when you were the younger version of you? Do you need to forgive something that happened when you were a child, but you were using that to actually still cause damage and challenges within your relationship? Because when you were 12 years old, somebody treated you a certain way. I'm not invalidating those feelings and what you went through, but what I am saying is that you need to forgive that person. You need to forgive that 12-year-old version of you for, I'm not gonna say letting it happen, but for whatever it is you're holding yourself accountable for that's not allowing you to move forward. You need to forgive the person, people, situation, whatever it may be, that did that. And again, not discounting whatever that transgression may be. If it's holding you back, it's in the past. Stop giving it life and seek counsel. Seek counsel if it's that debilitating, whether it be in the form of getting coaching, whether it's, seeking out a therapist, where it's a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever you feel, whatever's going to make you stretch. I was about to say whatever's going to make you comfortable, but we don't want you to be comfortable.
Well, and then too, you have to realize and recognize that forgiveness is not being weak. I think a lot of times we misunderstand what forgiveness is all about. We think that if I forgive this person, that I'm saying, number one, it's okay that the way that they treated me, or I'm saying that, well, it's like it makes you feel like you're small because you're saying, oh, okay, I forgive them, but forgiving them doesn't mean that you continue to let something like this happen. It's like if you're married to your husband, or your wife or whomever, you're in a relationship and there's infidelity, and you forgive them for it. That doesn't mean that, oh, I forgave you and I'm okay with that it happened. I'm not okay that it happened, because I forgive you, but it doesn't mean that, well, I forgave him, so if it happens again, you know what I'm saying? I'm
Right.
trying to get to that point where what I'm saying is like, you're not accepting the behavior and you're okay with it if it happens again. No, I'm saying I forgive what happened, and it was wrong, it was whatever, but in order for us to continue in our relationship, or even to be in a better space in our relationship, I know that I have to forgive that, and then it's like we start fresh, almost like you draw that line in the sand. Not that it didn't happen, but that's the past. Like Lovey was saying, we leave it back there. And forgiving, when you say I'm gonna forgive, but I'm not gonna forget. I don't. I feel like I don't know. That's a double one that's a hard one for me, because sometimes I say that too. Oh yeah, I've said that. I should say, yeah, I forgave him, but I ain't gonna forget about it. It's like, so if I don't forget about it, that means that if something happens and I'm triggered, then am I, when I bring it up, is that me forgiving them if I'm throwing
Right.
it back up in their face about what happened?
You
You
know,
know?
and those are all valid. I mean, it's one of those things. So we a lot of times we'll go and read articles and look up certain things. We really like John Gottman and the Gottman Institute. And one of the things he says is that forgiveness is about giving yourself, your children, your partner the kind of future that you and they deserve.
Mhm.
And you have to give yourself that forgiveness. It's a gift to you. It's not a gift to the,
It's not for the other
it's
person.
not for the person. The person that stabbed me, offering forgiveness had absolutely nothing to do with him and everything to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
And to your other point, it's like often people equate forgiveness with weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's widely believed that if you forgive someone, and I'm quoting an article that was written about John Gottman, and it's believed that if you forgive someone, you're condoning or excusing their behavior. But that couldn't be further from the truth. You're not condoning it. What you are doing is flexing, showing a strength that many people don't have.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is the greatest strength that you may actually possess.
It's the greatest strength that a lot of people don't use,
It's absolutely
you
true.
know?
So funny right now, everyone's running around talking about, oh, on the 22nd of December, you're going to get your superpowers.
Yeah, what is
I
that?
have no idea what that is, but
Someone said that to me. I was like, well, okay, what?
it's that shows how out of it we're staying away from a lot of media. But the superpower that you have right now is forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cape that everybody should let flow.
And not everyone can put it on, because sometimes it's too heavy for people, you know? Like with Thor's hammer, not everyone can pick up Thor's hammer, you know?
See, I differ with you because I think that everybody can pick up the hammer of forgiveness.
No, well, okay, they could, but it's too strong for some.
And I think there's a level of vulnerability both with Thor and with this that you have to be just, to be free, to you have to be honorable enough to be able to have it. And I think that with forgiveness, there has to be a level of vulnerability where you're saying, you know what, I forgive you. That's vulnerability. That's being extremely vulnerable and saying that you're opening yourself up to, I'm letting the other person know that I forgive them. But don't, I mean, there's a saying out there, don't mistake my forgiveness for weakness,
Mm-hmm.
because the last thing you want to do is double back and try and attempt the same thing again. Now, again, in the theme of relationships and going into 2021, I really wanted each and every one of you to think about, again, what do you need to forgive? Who do you need to forgive?
And what's stopping you from forgiving the other person? What is it that's truly stopping you? Is it because, like Lovey, said earlier about being vulnerable? You feel too open. When you're vulnerable, it's like you're naked and everyone can truly see. I buy clothes. People be like, "Oh, you're in such good shape," and I'm like, "You just don't see my stomach," because I know how to buy my clothes to cover it up. Some of us, we know how to cloak ourselves in unforgiveness and continue to move forward. And so you never know that I'm still mad at Susie, but I'm smiling and cheesing in Susie's face. But on the inside, I'm calling her every single name I could think of. You know what I mean?
And it's funny you say that, because here one of the greatest challenges is that unforgiveness loves an audience.
Mm.
Unforgiveness loves an audience. So when you're pissed off at somebody, you're like, you know what? And so-and-so did this. And da-da-da. Hey, so many people are quick to co-sign on that. Yeah, you're right. You know what? What we need to do is this, like, I'm your ride or die. And da-da-da-da. I got your back. And we got all these sayings about how I got you. Let's go handle this.
Or when you're mad at someone, you're quick to go tell everyone that you're mad at someone so that you, just like you said, have an audience. I'm looking for my ride or dies. I'm looking for my co-signers. I'm looking for my bandwagoners or whatever. So I could have an audience and make a big to do about whatever. And I don't know, maybe I either want to be tough and be like, yeah, that's why you don't be messing with me and blah 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 like that, or I want to be the victim, like, oh, feel sorry for me.
Right. And it's almost like you're building a weird kind of, I don't call it weird, but you got this different kind of community that's built around unforgiveness, because it's seen as support. Like, oh, I got you. I'm here for you. I got your back. I got you. That person, oh no, we're going to get them back.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But why not build a community of forgiveness?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, what about checking that person? It's like, look, okay, well, let's sit here and pray for that person. Let's sit here.
I don't want to pray for them. I'm mad.
Right. Exactly. I don't want to pray for them. But if we had more of that, wouldn't there be more peace? I mean, and I'm not just talking about peace in the world and kumbaya. I'm talking about peace in your life.
Yeah.
A sense of joy, a sense of, it's peace, but what can I equate to peace? Harmony, allowing you to move on, because it's that unforgiveness that once you get mad and angry and everybody co-signs on it, then you go back and you sit in your room and you're still mad. And then you're watching TV and you're flipping the channels all hard. You're still mad.
Because you're still mad.
As opposed to praying for that individual, releasing it, giving it to God, letting it go. And then that gives you a freedom to where now I can move forward, because you know what? You can't have freedom when you're tethered to that anger, to that hostility.
Yeah.
You can't go into 2021 as a couple, as a married couple, harboring anger, resentment over the fact that both of you have been stuck in the house with each other for the last X amount of months. And you discovered that so-and-so has been using the mouthwash, taking it to the head rather than using the cup. And now you're angry about that. And you're thinking, what other nasty stuff is he doing when I'm not here? Or what is she not doing when all these different things, It's just these little things add up. And it may seem inconsequential, but it's creating some difficulties. What do you need to forgive? Who do you need to forgive? It is easy, but it isn't. It's easier said than done, because I think that we've built a culture around that. We flex the muscle of unforgiveness so much that it's extremely difficult to flex the muscle of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you want to take your relationship to the next level, whatever that may be, if you want to go from needs improvement to good, or from good to great, or from great to phenomenal, whatever that next level is for you, here are 7 things that you can do. 7 ways forgiveness can help transform your marriage. And the first thing is, write down 3 negative emotions that have impacted your marriage. And let's be very targeted. Let's talk about what 3 negative emotions have impacted your marriage in 2020. It's been a rough year.
Yeah, for a lot of people.
For a lot of
And
individuals.
some couples did not survive the COVID, the 2020.
Let's keep it real. 50% of married couples don't survive in good times.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that it's really taken a toll this year. But write down 3 ways negative emotions have impacted your marriage. You need to be aware of the emotions that you haven't yet processed. Write those things down. There's something magical about writing down these things and then talking to a close friend, hopefully your spouse, maybe it's your ace, maybe it's your counselor, maybe it's your pastor, whatever that may be.
Hmm. And find ways to dislodge from negative emotion. So some people exercise, some people read, some people walk, or you know, something that gets your endorphins going.
Mm,
But so try not to use bad food. I'll say that because you have some people who are emotional eaters. You know, I know that I'm a stress eater, and when I'm stressed out, I eat. And it all depends on the type of stress it is too. So if I'm like in the cry, in my cry stress where I'm crying, I won't eat anything. But if I'm just stressed or I'm depressed or however a different kind of mood, you know, I eat.
right.
That's that chocolate comes in or the Pepsi and the popcorn or whatever. And half the time I'm eating, I'm like, I don't even want this, but I'm eating because I'm soothing myself or whatever. So
True.
find something, a positive way, therapy, yoga, walking, you know, like Lovey's saying, writing, some, write, take a poetry. Poetry is a good way to kind of, it helps you, for me, that's just my thing, write down, you helps you articulate what you're feeling in a way that it makes you really focus and zone in on like certain words or whatever.
Hmm.
It takes a lot of energy to not just write roses are red or whatever. So you're looking for synonyms of certain words that made you feel this way, and it creates its own energy. You might find that you actually like it, you know, especially if you're a big word person.
Big word person.
Not like a not use big words, but you're a person that likes
I
different words.
love the
I love big words and
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
I cannot lie.
Look at you. Well, the other thing is take small steps to repair and let go of grudges.
Mhm.
We've talked about that already. I'm not going to, I'm not going to begrudge the point, so to speak. But I will say that if you got little grudges, you got to let them go. You can't drag them into the next year because those little grudges will grow into medium to large. To all of a sudden, now you've got a bigger anchor than what you had in 2020.
Yeah, that's true. And you also have to accept the responsibility of your part in the interaction.
Say
That's
that part
big.
again. Say that again.
Accept responsibility for your part in the interaction. Interaction. Yeah. So one thing like for Lovey and I, we have these little tiffs sometimes. And, you know, he'll say something and I'll say something back sometimes, or I'm just like, what the heck? You know, or he's like, where'd that even come from? You know, and I'm like, well, you blah, 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 whatever, whatever. And so we get in, have this tension, and I have to say, all right, that's my bad. That was on me. You know, I don't just go in there and pat my chest, my bad. But, you know, I, I'll say, I know that that was my fault, you know, and I'll accept responsibility for whatever I did. And by me just accepting the responsibility, it totally shifts the whole
Energy.
energy. And so, and then he's ready to talk, or when he says it to me, then I'm ready to talk because I feel like, okay, I wasn't tripping, you know,
Something
so
was going on for
something was
real.
going on. Yeah.
And then you can't let the wounds fester. If there was something done that really hurt you, don't think of the phrase I can't stand. Oh, I'll just take it. I'm taking one for the team. Don't take one for the team in that respect. No, if taking one for the team means, okay, no one else is doing the dishes, so let me go ahead and do it even though it's not my night, take one for the team and do the dishes. But I'm talking about somebody lashes out, your partner, your loved one, your spouse lashes out, and it truly hurt you. Don't sit there and be like, okay, it's fine. It's good. It's okay. No, you need to talk that out and make sure that you challenge your beliefs and your self-defeating thoughts, because sometimes when we don't address them, we have a tendency to trick ourselves in a small way into thinking, I deserve that, or that's who I am.
Or it festers and it festers. And then we come to a situation where we had a year four. Things were, and our year four, if you know, you don't know, is the year that I asked for a divorce. So whenever we talk about year four,
Demanded a divorce. She didn't ask.
whenever we talk
It
about
wasn't like, Lovey, when you get around to it, I'd love a divorce. No, it was like, look here, Negro. I'm done. You're out. Bye bye.
Whatever. Anyway, but because the things that had happened, it festered. We never dealt with it, and it stuff just got piled on and on and on and on and on till I'm just like, I can't no more. So I gotta go. So you don't ever want it to get to that point. So don't let it fester. Deal with the situation and address it. You
Yep.
know. So and then also sometimes people are just doing the best that they possibly can do. You
And you need
know,
to accept it.
and you just gotta accept it. And
Not accept it in the respect that
you just accept it, dang nabbit.
no,
Not
no,
like that. No.
sorry. Not that you're like, oh, that's as good as they're gonna get. That's the one thing I could never stand is, well, that's just so and so. That's just how they are.
Mm,
We don't mean it in that respect. What we're talking about is that accept that sometimes people don't have the tools that you were equipped with,
mhm.
or maybe you don't have the tools that your spouse was equipped with. We can only reflect what we've been learned or exposed to. Exposure is everything.
Yeah.
You don't know to eat better if everybody in your family.
If you grew up eating bad or something like that. Yeah.
Right. Well, there's
Until you're exposed to something better.
there's a lot of people have a tendency to pass judgment on other individuals, and we got to stop doing that,
Mm.
even in our relationships. But there's a lot of families out there that live in a gang culture, and I'm not excusing it whatsoever. But when your grandfather, let's say when your great grandfather, your father,
Your grandpa,
your grandpa, your brothers,
your cousin.
your siblings, if everybody grows up in a gang mentality and you have never been truly been exposed to something else except the family business, so to speak, it's hard for that individual to even fathom that something else exists.
Mhm. I've talked to people that were like that. They were just like, this is because this is how it is. And you can come, not saying to me, no, you can't come in here with all that. But they were explaining to me that this is the way it is in this place where I live. And if I'm different from,
Everyone else.
then what? So I'm not going to get ahead. I'm going to be the one that's, I mean, I've had some deep, deep conversations with people.
And it's because they haven't been given the tools to
Mhm.
do anything different. And in our relationships, accept that your spouse might not have been exposed to the type of family that you grew up with, or has the same resources, the tools that you have in order to deal with this particular situation that's causing tension. Now, by accepting that they're doing the best they can doesn't mean that they can't do better.
Right.
It's about providing those resources and patience and understanding and create an environment that's conducive to learning the new behavior that you're looking for.
The best they could up to that point until you introduce them to something more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then,
Like you said, and then the last one is think like a forgiving person. So you kind of already said it. Be the forgiveness that you seek. You can't expect someone to forgive you when you never forgiven anyone else. That's just like the parable about the man who the debtor he was going to get thrown in jail, and he begged and begged and begged, please don't put me in jail, please don't put me in jail. And the king was merciful, and as soon as he left, he saw someone who owed him money, and he jacked him up and I think beat him up or something, or try to throw him in jail. And then that word got back to the king, and he was like, oh, so I forgave you, but you could not forgive the other. So now there you go.
hey, that parable right there, take a moment, pause. How many times have we done that in our lives?
Mm-hmm.
How many times?
Yep.
I'll tell the kids, look, you need to forgive each other, leave your sister alone, leave your brother alone, da 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 da. You need to give forgiveness. You need to sit there and understand, think about their perspective. And then I'll walk in the living room, Snooks will piss me off.
And then he
And
mad.
then I'll be mad.
I'm like, why are you mad?
Right. But honestly, I mean, we're trying to add some levity, but you have to be willing to offer the forgiveness that you will seek.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just keep it real. We're talking about going into 2021. You have to let go of whatever's holding you back. Offer the forgiveness that you would want to seek, want to have in 2021.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself. Forgive your spouse. Forgive your uncle, your auntie, your teacher, whoever that is that that's providing that little bit of a tug that's not allowing you to progress and step into what God has planned for you.
And John Gottman also says, practicing forgiveness will allow you to turn the corner from feeling like a victim to becoming a more empowered person. And that's what we want to be, more empowered. So,
That's all we want. And hopefully you heard everything, because Snooks keeps talking lower and lower
am I?
and away from the microphone. So I really hope that you guys caught what she was saying.
Can you hear me now?
So, and with that said, now there's that time. So when we're going into this, we want to remind everyone that December 26th, this is coming out on Wednesday, the 23rd, but on the 26th is the very last Married into Crazy workshop
Mhm.
for 2020.
Yeah. I just want to say we've enjoyed it. It's been a ball, We started the very first workshop we did was in June, I think. May or
It was in
June.
May.
So, and they've continued to just get better. We've
April,
enjoyed.
May.
No, it wasn't April. It was May.
It was funny because it was in March. We were set. There was a facility, and they had a bunch of people that were going to be attending, and of course, everything hit, and we had to push it back.
Shut down, and
it changed, and it went from being a paid event venture that people were paying for to we just started giving it away.
Mm-hmm.
And then we said, you know what? Well, people were like, oh, you should charge. So we said, let's just go back to the original model. And then we started to charge, and then it just didn't sit right. So we made it free again. And I feel like we get more out of pouring into couples than we ever thought we would get. And so this is why it's our gift to you the day after Christmas. It's our gift. So go to marriedintocrazy.com and click that little orange button that's right there that says something like you deserve a 5-star marriage. But there's an orange button that's right there. And click on that, and you'll get like a quick webinar. You'll actually get a free resource tool if you go through our website, or you can click on the link that's in the show notes. The link in the show notes will take you directly to the sign up for the workshop. Again, it's absolutely free. We're going to talk about what it means to be crazy, to have a crazy relationship, and we'll break that down. But then also you're going to get each registrant gets up to 2 disc assessments where you're going to be able to actually break down what your superpower is. That's going to allow you to have better communication, to take that to another level. And we're offering that. That's what?
When you said registrant, I was thinking to myself, why is he saying restaurant?
Oh my goodness. That's the ratchety part. See, that's the ratchety couple part.
I was like, what?
So this is the part in the podcast where we actually go in and do the I Can for couples, which is available, of course, on our website. In the store, we have 2 opportunities. You have a gear store that's called our premium store, and then you also have our more local store. So you have the premium store and the shop. So anyway, take a look around, see if there's anything that appeals to you. And what you do is you reach in, you grab an affirmation that you can focus on for the week. What does yours say?
Mine says, I can be more affectionate.
Ooh, okay. She's holding hers up to the camera. So mine says, I can give a compliment. And my compliment is, you are so beautiful.
That's not.
It doesn't count?
No.
Okay. Well, this is the last part. So hey, look, have a very safe, happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Oh, wait. We got time. We got one more podcast for the end of the year.
Ooh, wait. Today.
We're going to bring it in strong.
One.
So anyway, what we do want to say is that the last 8 minutes and 46 seconds of the podcast, our audio podcast, will always have silence for 8 minutes and 46 seconds for social justice. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that we want to recognize that we need moments to reflect. We need quietness to really reflect on how we can become better citizens, how we can become better spouses, how we can become better children, siblings, what have you, so we can actually make a better community. And we're offering you yet another gift of 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence to where you can reflect on how you can impact your community in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to say, as we head out, just Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. And y'all see I got my red on because for Christmas, it's my favorite color, but just stay safe. And I know that this year it's different for a lot of people. Christmas is going to be very different for Lovey and I. Usually we have my side of the family come over, and that's like anywhere from 50 to 60 people, and we're all over the place, and it's a blast. And this year it's going to be very quiet, and it's going to be very different. But I'd rather have a different Christmas and be able to have a bigger Christmas later on with my whole family than to try to push the envelope and try to get out there too soon. So you guys just take care, be safe, and keep your family safe too.
Amen. And as you can see, she's wearing red because she's Christmas pure. I'm wearing burgundy because my red is kind of dirty. If it's a reflection of our souls, I'm in a lot of trouble. Anyway, hey, we love all of you. For everyone that's listening across all the countries, there's 34 different countries at last count, I believe, that are that listen to us, and we're very thankful and grateful for each and every one of you.
Yes, we are.
And we hope we're pouring into your lives. Feel free to reach out to us and share any ideas, concepts, suggestions at 918-351-2799.
That's 918-351-2799.
Until the next time, be blessed.
Bye-bye.